I needed my fix of Yakuza, or Like a Dragon, rather. The name Like a Dragon has grown on me, but that obviously makes talking about the series as a whole a bit awkward, especially when Yakuza Like a Dragon exists. So to clarify, I pretty much use both names interchangeably to refer to the series as a whole, but for this video I will probably try to only make myself say Like a Dragon, for consistency's sake. And when it comes to specific games, just say the name of the game. Except Yakuza Like a Dragon. See how weird that is now? I've taken to just calling that one Yakuza 7. The last Like a Dragon game that came out was technically the worldwide remake of Ishin back in March of 2023, and the last one before that, Yakuza 7, released in 2020. Well, there was Lost Judgment in 2021 as well, but the point is, I had not played one of these games in a while. Ishin was a great holdover, that one was fucking fantastic, and now Gaiden is finally upon us with the 8th mainline game, Infinite Wealth, right around the corner. In fact, it'll only be like 2 weeks away by the time this video releases. This is because Gaiden's story is meant to both catch us up on Kiryu's activities since 6 and lead right into the story of Infinite Wealth. It's much shorter than your average Like a Dragon game meant to just be an intermediary title, but should absolutely not be slept on. Not only because of its story significance, but also because it is a damn good time. Writing a script for a Like a Dragon game is very daunting because, well, if you've ever played one, then you know these games have everything. Yes, there's the story itself, yes, there's the combat, but there's also billiards, and golf, and an entire side plot where Kiryu takes over a fucking boat. So let's start at All Reliable, the story. And I really hope you're okay with these goofy-ass costumes doing serious cutscenes, because this game lets you do that, so it's already 10 out of 10. I know this is basically still a brand new game, and also one that Like a Dragon fans, myself included, were very hyped up about. So while I will still obviously have my normal spoiler section near the end of the video, I am giving you a heads up right now that that section will contain what happens in the main story of the final chapter. Everything before and outside of that is free real estate for the rest of the video. And obviously the previous games may very well be spoiled for you if you haven't played them, because I will be talking about them liberally, especially because this has connections to a lot of the past games. We have not heard from Kiryu since, well, his cameo in 7, but really Yakuza 6. Gaiden starts by basically recapping the ending of 6, and everything before the final chapter occurs before the events of 7. Kiryu is now living as Joryu after faking his death to protect Haruka and the other kids at the Morning Glory Orphanage. He's living at an old shrine that acts as a front for the Daidoji, the secret organization who helped arrange Kiryu's so-called death. Using the orphanage as leverage against Kiryu, who came up with the plan in the first place, so leverage is really nothing but an illusion here, they ensure that the world never knows that Kazuma Kiryu is alive, and they use him as one of their agents to assist with whatever jobs need some muscle. One fateful day, a job Kiryu goes on is actually staged by the aggressors in order to expose that Kiryu is still alive. Some shenanigans then ensue, including the kidnapping of Kiryu's Daidoji handler, Hanawa, and it is eventually revealed that the people behind all this are none other than the Watase family, most notably from Yakuza 5. The main individuals in particular are Tsuruno and Shishido, who try time and time again to get Joryu to admit that he's really Kiryu, but given the situation, he refuses to budge. Despite this, Tsuruno offers a proposal. The Watase family can help arrange the faking of his death, again, to fool the Daidoji while secretly taking him under his wing. Their ultimate goal for Kiryu is yet to be revealed, but Kiryu declines the offer and keeps insisting that he isn't even Kiryu and that they have the wrong guy, although he knows that everyone's aware of how bullshit that is. He's just being stubborn about it, which I respect. He ends up rescuing Hanawa after his kidnapping and capturing Tsuruno, and in order to prove his loyalty, the Daidoji try to force Kiryu to kill Tsuruno while he's in captivity. If there is one thing that anyone knows about Kiryu, other than his ability to completely atomize anyone standing in his way, it's that he does not do killing. We don't talk about this. So instead, he pulls the classic Kiryu move of beating the shit out of everyone. As punishment, the Taidoji boss orders Hanawa himself to kill Kiryu in cold blood. Kiryu and Hanawa have developed a deeper relationship than anyone would expect, especially for agent and handler. And when you combine that with the fact that Kiryu just saved Hanawa's life earlier, this is very hard for him to do. He actually just refuses straight up. Things are not looking good for Hanawa, and then the boss comes in like they were just on Impractical Jokers and tells them it was all a ruse, and they pass the test. Tsuruno walks back in and he basically just pays for Kiryu. Literally, I'll give you 50 billion yen to fuck off. Nothing talks like money, huh? I think the other condition was that they test Hanawa and Kiryu's relationship, which is what the whole stage setup was for, and since their connection is obviously very deep, they are more willing to let him go temporarily, or something to that effect, I don't really know. At any rate, Joryu is now free to hang with Tsuruno and Shishido, where he gets the whole rundown of what they're trying to do and why they need Kiryu so badly. The situation is this: they are under direct orders from Watase, the captain of the Omi Alliance, to hire Kiryu. Watase gets out of prison in a month's time, and when he does get out, he is going to completely dissolve the Omi Alliance, working together with Daigo Dojima to also dissolve the Tojo clan. Basically, the Yakuza will be no more, at least the two big head honchos. This will sound awfully familiar to anyone who's played Yakuza 7, because this event happens in that game, and it's where Kiryu first gets his big cameo. And you will also remember how much muscle they needed to handle the backlash. Kiryu is basically the best muscle anyone could ever get, as Watase himself knows all too well, hence all of this. There's just one tiny problem. A very prominent Yakuza member who holds a lot of power in the Omi and will very much be opposed to the dissolution. Homare Nishitani III, current head of the Kijin clan. No, he is not related to the guy from Zero, but does have the same title, being passed down from leader to leader of the Kijin clan. He also runs a giant boat in the middle of the ocean known as the Castle, made to be an adult theme park for the criminal underworld, and also hosts Coliseum fights to the death. Fucking baller. The Kijin clan is also who Shishido is loyal to. Well, not really, given that he's trying to double-cross them with the Omi dissolution, but he's basically lived his whole life under Nishitani's thumb. He's had to fight to survive under the Kijin clan, and only broke free once Tsuruno found him and took him in. In timely fashion, Nishitani sees Tsuruno talking with Kiryu on the boat, and is very interested to know who he is, having seen him win some Coliseum matches earlier. Tsuruno, saying he wants to keep his identity hidden, only makes Nishitani want to know more, and, well, since Nishitani is incapable of taking no for an answer, one thing leads to another, and boss fight. Just one fight alone tells Nishitani all he needs to know. He just duked it out with the legendary Dragon of Dojima, Kazuma Kiryu, and then promptly gets knocked out. Kiryu and company spend the next while trying to lure Nishitani out of the castle by raising some hell in Sotenbori, hoping word will get back to Nishitani and he'll be mad enough to come out and fight Kiryu again after getting his ass beat. It more or less works, and the end of chapter 4 is yet another boss fight with Nishitani, after which Shishido just kills him, which wasn't the plan. Kiryu, of course, doesn't do killing. We don't talk about this, so Shishido and Tsuruno tricked him under the pretense that they were only going to beat the shit out of him and put him out of commission for the Yakuza dissolution. But yeah, he got duped hard. I will save the rest of the story for later, given that chapter 5 is the last chapter, but now that the story context is in place, what fuckery awaits us in this installment of Like a Dragon? The side content, as you might expect, is pretty watered down compared to the others due to the nature of the game, but it still has a lot of cool stuff to do. A little ways into the story, you meet Akame, a self-proclaimed jack of all trades who runs a huge information network throughout Sotenbori and is primarily interested in helping the homeless. Sotenbori, by the way, is the main location of the game if you couldn't tell already, with the castle being the secondary location. As such, she gets requests from a lot of people to do a lot of things, and these are your main source of sub-stories. Not just sub-stories though, there are also stroll and patrol missions, which I don't know why these exist. 90% of them are just fetch quests, they kinda suck. But these and the sub-stories are where you can get Akame points, a secondary currency you need to upgrade your abilities and that you can use to buy things at Akame's shop. You can also spend copious amounts of money to invest in the Akame network to improve it, such as increasing the points you earn, decreasing the point cost of skills, getting more things in the shop. Your other source of sub-stories is unlocked in Chapter 4 with the Castle Coliseum. Well, the Coliseum itself is unlocked much earlier than that, but it's in Chapter 4 where you get introduced to this fucking clown, and are then introduced to the 4 kings of the Coliseum, starting a whole side quest where you have to take them all down and become the strongest fighter in the Coliseum. The Coliseum is really interesting in this game. There are 4 ranks of matches available in the Coliseum: Bronze, Silver, Gold, and Platinum. Obviously, each rank is much more difficult than the last, and your own rank increases by clearing a certain number of matches in your current rank and having the Akame network at a certain level. I say the Coliseum is interesting because there are a few different modes here. There are your standard one-on-one matches, a rumble mode where you fight multiple enemies, special event matches for miscellaneous things like Mr. Try and Hit Me, yes he comes back, and gambling matches where you can bet copious amounts of money on your victory. This is your main source of income for late game grinding, by the way. And Hell Team Rumble, the star of the show. This is basically the big side game of Gaiden. You can recruit members to the Joryu clan to fight alongside you in Hell Team Rumbles. These are like normal rumbles, but you have a team too. You can level up your members who all have different stats and special abilities. I was never a big fan of Hell Team Rumble, to be honest, the main reason being it doesn't really feel like you're doing all too much most of the time. The vast majority of the enemy is taken down by the rest of your AI-controlled team, so these are just kinda to me. It is very cool to see enemies with such massive health bars though. The Colosseum as a whole is something I always look forward to in Like a Dragon games, because it is just pure combat testing and I love that shit. So I guess we should talk about the combat, huh? There are two main fighting styles, the Agent style and the Yakuza style. The Yakuza style is more of what you're used to in these games, charged attacks and really good for one-on-one encounters. And of course the almighty Tiger Drop, they kind of just die. The Agent style is pretty much crowd control. It utilizes a number of different gadgets, and once these are actually upgraded, dear god is this style fun. You can sling people around, run people over with jetpack boots, and those are the only ones that matter. I never got much use out of the drones or exploding cigarettes, but hey, that's more than enough. With enough upgrades, the boots are useful, to say the least. You can kind of just make the enemies go away. This is honestly one of the best fighting styles in a Like a Dragon game. You know what gets me pumped up even more than Colosseum matches though? The one thing I always look forward to the second I start up any Like a Dragon game, and the thing I always save for very last in spite of that, the final ball-busting challenge of any game in this series, motherfucking Amon. After completing all the Colosseum matches, including the 4 Kings, a completely armored individual comes to introduce himself as Tetsu Amon. And so it begins. Wait, Hell Team Rumble? Aw, fuck that. Thankfully, after this Hell Team Rumble, a second Amon shows up, beats the shit out of Tetsu, and goes, "Fight me one-on-one, coward." Now we're talking. This is Guy Amon. He has pretty much the same gimmick as the Shin Amon fight from Judgment. No, not the frame dropping, but the color of his aura that tells you which fighting style you should be using. If you use the wrong one, it does a lot less damage to him than it normally would. The auras also indicate his own fighting styles, mimicking yours, both Spider and the Yakuza style. He starts out in Spider, and then he goes to the Yakuza style, where he will heal every time he hits you, so you need to be good at dodging this shit. On top of that, he is constantly healing throughout the entire fight, so you better be able to dish out damage faster than he can replenish his health. You can destroy the drones above his head to get him to stop healing, but then he just uses drone attacks on you, so I just found it more convenient to not. Maxed out attack with good attack gear will have you shredding health bars, even on Amon once you know his attack patterns. Alternatively, you could, yeah, this is pretty fun. So overall, just kind of a standard Amon fight, nothing too crazy here, or maybe I've just been way too desensitized to his bullshit. The minigames in Gaiden are also kind of just your standard. Of course, there's the arcade with... Oh my god, this is the best Like a Dragon game. Golf with bingo and closest to the hole varieties. There's the usual billiards with all the different rule sets such as 8-ball and 9-ball, but there's also the one-shot challenge. I don't want to fucking talk about it, this thing came straight from hell. You get a setup with some obstacles placed on the table, and you have to hit the ball into the specified hole in one shot. And I swear to god, this is just RNG half the time with the physics of this game. Either that or the lineups you need are just so insanely hyper-specific that it's unreasonable. And of course, who could forget karaoke? They brought back Hands and Like a Butterfly from 6, Tonight from Kiwami, Ichizu Samurai from Ishin, and, I mean, come on, can you have a Like a Dragon game without Baka Mitai? Well, actually, yeah, there are quite a few, but that's besides the point. There's even a brand new song, Sayonara Silent Night, which has one of the funniest cinematics ever. Of course, there's also darts, and gambling, and... No. No, don't tell me. They brought back Pocket Circuit, baby! The best minigame. Period. I don't want to hear it. This shit is peak. I could make like an entire video in and of itself on why I fucking love Pocket Circuit Racing in Like a Dragon. Something I very much considered while playing this, not gonna lie. But for now, I will leave it at, this shit rules. It is so much more addicting than it has any right to be. You basically have a little toy car with a motor and a number of preset tracks to race on. The gameplay itself is extremely simple. The car drives automatically, and your only inputs are mashing buttons when it's in danger of flying off the course to get it back on. It won't always work depending on how crazy your car is going, and you only have a certain amount of stamina to use throughout the whole course to use on riding your car. The real appeal of this minigame is the customization. There are a number of different categories of parts you can put in your car, and a number of different balancing options for each of them. Each category will generally focus on multiple specific stats. Your main stats are speed, which is self-explanatory, balance, which I believe is how well your car can stay straight while airborne, acceleration, which is also self-explanatory, but also very important for being able to climb steep inclines, downforce, which brings your car back down to the ground faster after going airborne, grip, which, I don't actually really know what this does, and cornering, how well you can handle tight turns. It's actually crazy how the littlest change to your stats can make a noticeable effect on your performance on the course, and give you just the edge you need. On top of these, many parts can change the overall weight of your car as well, which affects speed and probably some other more subtle things. Tires mostly affect grip, speed, and acceleration. Your frame affects cornering, mostly at the cost of your speed. Motors affect speed and acceleration. Gears also affect speed and acceleration. Your battery drastically affects speed and acceleration, but also determines how long your car can physically run for. So if the course is too long, you pretty much have to use the longest lasting battery, which will have the least speed and acceleration. Stabilizers are for cornering, suspension is downforce, and your front wing is also downforce. These last three also weigh a lot. Your tires, frame, motor, and gears will have options for different balances, like one for focusing more on speed or more on acceleration, or striking some number of balances in between. You need to very carefully choose your parts and balance your stats just right to still go fast enough to win the race, but also survive the course itself. If you don't have enough cornering ability for the speed you're going, sharp turns will wipe you out. If you don't have enough acceleration, steep inclines will slow you down way too much, or you might not even be able to climb them at all. For big jumps, you need better balance or enough downforce on it so it doesn't have to stay in the air for long. There are a lot of things to keep in mind when customizing for a course, and it is so satisfying when you finally nail it down and get it to work. It is one of the best minigames Like a Dragon has had, and I'm so glad they brought it back. And then we hit the other end of the spectrum, the Cabaret Club. Oh, this isn't an engine, is it? This is straight up a video. They put fucking .mp4s into my video game. I hate it here. So let me get things straight. I do not like the cabaret clubs. I never have. They have always been like the one big mental hurdle to clear in every Like a Dragon game for me. They are just not very interesting and take way too much time. And, well, I can't say I didn't expect them in Gaiden, given they are practically a staple of the franchise, but what I certainly did not expect was 4K video. 90% of which I skipped because fuck this. You go in, select what girl you want to talk to, pick the correct answer for her opening statement, select the correct drink, pick some topics to talk about and select the correct answer for those, and finally select the correct answer for the closing of the conversation and you'll level up your, affection meter, I guess, for that girl. In Gaiden, this goes up to level 3, after which you'll get a rather interesting scene. These were the only ones I didn't skip. Remember the main story? There's actually, like, serious stuff going on? This marks the spoilery section for the video where I discuss the finale, so skip to the timestamp on display if you want to avoid that. Chapter 5 is essentially just the final sequence. There are only a couple of small waypoints to go before beginning the final hoorah. This whole section jumps to a month later with Watase getting out of prison and briefly recaps some of the major events of Yakuza 7. The plan is to escort him to Omi HQ where, well, you remember Yakuza 7, but they hit a bit of a roadblock before that happens. Shishido is a bit of a dick. Turns out he's been against this dissolution from the very beginning and has been biding his time, waiting for the right time to strike and take the whole thing down. Which means he was only pretending to double-cross the Kijin clan, but in fact was double-crossing Watase. Recording a video as solid proof of the plan with both Kuryu and Watase discussing the dissolution gets him his leverage, and he rallies basically the entire Watase family behind him, having gotten a whole lot of manpower on his side over the last few years he's been scheming this, leaving Kuryu, Watase himself, and Tsuruno to duke it out with everyone. Oh, and Nishtani! Yeah, sorry, they kinda pull a rubber bullets level twist here and reveal Shishido faked stabbing Nishtani to death in front of Kuryu's eyes. I mean, Kuryu couldn't actually see Nishtani, and the blood was from a toy he was stabbing. And he even had a rescue team nearby if anything went wrong? Sure, we'll humor it. This whole fight though is cool as hell, and after the big brawl, Shishido and Nishtani go down for good. And everyone, not without substantial injuries, can head over to Omi HQ now, where things play out just like they did in 7. But instead of Ichiban's side of things, you get Kuryu's side of things, where he beats the shit out of the people in the back lines to protect Watase. You see everybody here. Ichiban and his team, Majima, Saejima, Dojima, why did I just realize they all end in JIMA? It feels like pure fan service, but in the most natural way. It's not forced, it's literally the plot of the game. Everything was always leading up to this, and the whole point of Gaiden was filling the gaps that Ichiban's side of the story had regarding Kuryu's whereabouts. But dear god, does this feel cathartic as fuck. And if that wasn't enough already, the final boss occurs right after this Omi HQ brawl. Yeah, it's Shishido, he crawled his way back. This might be the best final boss in the series, I'm not even gonna lie. Definitely one of them. It is so incredibly symbolic. Shishido is a character introduced in Gaiden, so it's not like this is against a longtime rival or a familiar face or anything, but they still managed to set this up beautifully. Shishido is an old school Yakuza through and through, as Kiryu remarks. He doesn't want to see the Yakuza dissolve. In the face of the whole system ceasing to exist altogether, he still cares about the ranks, the life, the pride. He has lived his entire life in it, even if that life treated him so terribly. It's all he knows and can't possibly live a life without it. In a way, it's kind of sad, but at the same time, he is everything a model Yakuza should be, and he will not back down for anything. If the Yakuza are to truly dissolve, that unflinching tenacity must be faced head on. They fight for their place in the world, goddammit, and Shishido is making sure he still has his. But he is living in the past. The world has no place for the Yakuza anymore. This isn't a fight of good versus bad, or even of differing morals. This is a symbol of what the Yakuza really are. One last hoorah for what is about to be history. And I could not have expected, or even asked for, a better send-off than this. In the light of a setting sun, by witness of all the legendary Yakuza members throughout Kiryu's story, this fight is beautiful. I don't think I could say much more than that. It is just beautiful. The future of Like a Dragon will be very different from the series we've come to know and love so far. Yakuza 7 was a great taste of that future, and Gaiden is a great send-off to the past. The cutscenes following this final boss are not only equally as beautiful, but also absolutely heart-wrenching. Kiryu is able to see a video recording the Daidoji took from a hidden camera of Kiryu's grave, which the kids from One in Glory still visit. Two of them noticed the camera, noticed it was pointed at Kiryu's grave, and talked to it on the off chance he could be listening. Hanawa showed this recording to Kiryu as a sort of reward, and I was just bawling right along with Kiryu, I can't even lie. It's not very easy for a game to make me cry so hard, and I haven't done so since I played Chaos Child 8 months ago, but that timer has reset with Gaiden, because holy shit. This game does not shy away from showing just how much this new life is affecting Kiryu, and all the horrors and heartbreak that comes with it. I don't think we have ever seen Kiryu this emotional, and we definitely haven't seen him cry like this, but it feels deserved. He can never see those kids again, no matter how much he wants to, and he remarked that he clearly needed them more than they ever needed him. The Daidoji then releases him. They will always be watching him, but he's free to do what he pleases so long as his true identity is never compromised. He still can't see the kids, and isn't even allowed to go back to Kamurocho, his hometown, or Okinawa where the orphanage is. But anywhere else is okay, and he decides to go to Hawaii on account of the late love of his life from Yakuza 1, Yumi. And of course, if you've seen any marketing for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, you will know it takes place in Hawaii, and this is clearly leading right into that game. But there is one burning mystery. Hanawa gives him a new alias to use. Joryu is way too on the nose, so he settled for Taichi Suzuki. Sounds incredibly familiar, huh? This is the exact alias Kiryu used in Yakuza 5, and Hanawa heavily implies that they actually have met before, when he was using that alias. He even says that he too has changed his name, and used to live a different life. I so desperately hope they elaborate on this in Infinite Wealth, because leaving this intriguing of a mystery just hanging is agonizing. Maybe it's only meant to leave off there, with no deeper meaning or hints of the future, there to just add a little bit of mystique. But I certainly didn't take it that way when I first saw this. I need elaboration. And that is Like a Dragon Gaiden. A beautiful game that both sets up Infinite Wealth and wraps up the story of the Yakuza so incredibly well. Unfortunately, I will not be able to play Infinite Wealth for quite a few months after it comes out due to life stuff, and if I decide to pull the trigger on a certain idea I've been thinking about, it might be a much longer time than that. But you can bet your ass I will get to it. I am so excited to play it. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, consider subscribing and liking and all that jazz so you can stay up to date and support me. I also have some socials and a Discord server, so check the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next endeavor. Peace.